are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How's things on your side of the world at the moment?
Well, cloudy. Well, you didn't ask for the weather necessarily. Well, I'm busy. The weather is okay. Not too bad for January, but probably not as good as January in, where are you based exactly? Melbourne?
Actually, I'm Perth on the west coast.
Perth.
Yes.
I've been in Perth.
Oh, okay. What did you think?
I thought it was very hot. The others went to see, I don't know, is it pigeons? No, not pigeons necessarily. What kind of animals do you have in that? Oh, you have mini kangaroos on that one island, right?
Oh, quokkas, you're probably thinking of.
Yeah, well, they are kind of mini kangaroos. They taste the same anyway. But anyway, and I went to Fremantle to Bon Scott's grave.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of bands that come through Perth, they always check out Bon Scott's memorial grave because I guess it's a big thing that it's Fremantle is sort of known for, I suppose.
Well, it was a bit dull. I did not know what to expect, but I went there with a bus, and then I had to walk a lot, and it was hot, and then I stood there, and then they said, "Oh, you want to go to Bon Scott's grave?" I was asking, I'm looking for Bon Scott's grave. Do you know where it is? Yeah, of course, it was a big thing for that graveyard. But then they, I think they had the plate removed for, I don't know, maintenance or whatever. So it was just, there were just some flowers, and okay, I was there. I can say I was there, but I like Perth.
Yeah, you're right. It's very hot at the moment. At the moment, it's like close to 40 degrees Celsius, which is like maybe 100 Fahrenheit or something like that. So it's extremely hot at the moment.
Oh yeah, no, it's around 0 here right now. It's now today it's like 3 or 4. Oh, I can look at that. It's 6.4 outside right now.
Wow, nice. So I guess the main thing we've got to talk about is obviously the new album, Ghostlights. We had a bit of a preview of the album that your PR guy sent us, and fantastic stuff. Sounds absolutely phenomenal. What can you tell me about this album?
Well, you said everything. Fantastic stuff, phenomenal. No, it's, I bet you have talked to a lot of artists, and I bet you have never talked to someone who said, "Well, I think the new album is quite mediocre, but we had to do it for the money." So what I have to say is, it's a great album. I have to say it's the best album in the history of music. But honestly, this time I believe I'm right if I say that. I'm really happy with the album. And you always get a feeling for an album, for how it's perceived when you speak to the press and when it leaks 5 weeks before it's released. And everybody knows it. So that's a pain in the ass. But I got a feeling that it's a great album and that people perceive it as that. And when you do an album, you always do the same thing. You try to write great music. Pretty much doing an album for me is not a job. It's something I want to do. Because I believe in it, because it's a hobby, because I have hardly any other hobbies. So it's what I do because I'm passionate about it, and that's why I have a close and tight relation to every piece of music I have come up with in my entire life. Because I never did it to be liked by somebody, never been fishing for compliments or approval, but just because I wanted to have a good time doing it myself and excite myself. And that was the same thing this time. And I can't say I enjoyed it more than recording any of the other albums I recorded. It was just as great. But I have a feeling that this time the result is loved by a lot more people than usually. That's just a natural feeling that I get when speaking to press people. And so all I can say is that on top of being excited about it myself, this time it seems like the great majority, I don't want to say of the Earth's population, but the great majority of the people in my musical universe seem to like it even a little more than usual, which is great. which could result in a Ferrari.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, obviously you want that. I mean, obviously, as you said, you know, you're not actually creating this music for other people to like. I mean, you create it for yourself, but it's also a good thing that people actually enjoy it as well. Now, I guess this is the album that's following up from the last album, The Mystery of Time. The success of that album, which it did so well, especially in Germany as well, where it went to number 2 or something like that. Was there any pressure at all to make this album so that even better than that one, or?
No. I mean, this is not the Olympics. You fail as soon as you try to compete with any other artistic thing you've done. Then you're trying to live up to the expectation of matching something that was original in the first place. And you can never copying something or trying to imitate or repeat something. You will never be as good as you were when you innocently did it for the first time. And that's why I try not to think about it. This is not the Olympics. A piece of music is a piece of music. You can never... I mean, this is the ridiculous thing about music journalism. I'm sorry about that now. My wife is a journalist, so I'm allowed to say that, especially when she's not around. The weird thing about music journalism is that you cannot say this is like 8 out of 10. This is not the Olympics. You can say it's an 8. It's 8-1. You can say in football when there were rules, when one team scored 8 times and one team scored 1 time, but you cannot say this music is 6.5 out of 12. How nerdy is that? Especially in rock and roll, it is not possible. And the same thing is you cannot say I want to do something better than that. How will you do better? I mean, when I did Mystery of Time, I did not say I have to do something that is 5% stronger than the previous album. That all you can do is just sit there with an empty blank piece of paper and try to have a great time painting a beautiful picture and not comparing it to anything else. And that's what I tried to do. Is it better than Mystery of Time? I have no clue. There is no better or worse. It's just the next stop on my journey, and I really had a great time doing it. And I like what I hear. And I think the world would be a worse place without that album. That sounds megalomaniac, right? I mean, I don't say it would be far worse, but a little worse. I enjoy that, adding that album to my heritage. Oh, that sounds big now.
Okay. Well, no, that's good to hear. I mean, and also just touching on your point before I forget, you mentioned about how you can't really sort of replicate the originals now, which I absolutely agree with that. And do you find that a lot of fans are too biased in their, especially for a band that's been around for such a long time, and they're kind of stuck on the earlier albums? You find that with a lot of older bands. Do you find that fans don't really get that bands cannot replicate the originals the same way, like you mentioned before?
Well, I can understand the motives behind it. I mean, and it works to a certain extent. You can do Operation Mindcrime Part 2. You can do Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 3. I understand the motives. I understand the bands that say, why don't those bastards out there don't get that we have moved on, and why don't they like the stuff that we do now as much as they like the stuff we did 20 years ago? Sometimes I am furious about how people say that my new stuff is crap when our first albums were supposedly so great, which when I listen to those first albums now, I in some parts they are ridiculous. But as I said, you cannot judge that objectively. I can say that the playing and singing was worse on the early albums, but you can never say that about the whole album as a result. Because it was what it was for the time back then, and it generated a feeling, and it has an aura, and it has a personality and an identity. And if people feel something special about that, that cannot be argued.
Mm.
Then that is the truth. And then that is valid. And if somebody comes to me and says, the Metal Opera is the best album you've done in your entire career, that's a valid opinion. And I don't want to argue. But trying to do the Metal Opera Part 3 now, I understand that some record label would probably love it, and probably some fans would pay attention just because of its title. But at the same time, I don't think this would make a difference to what I'm capable of doing nowadays and to what I want to do nowadays. I mean, if somebody really believes that, okay, now we're doing whatever, Number of the Beast Part 2, if that would help Steve Harris to get in a certain mindset to compose something that he could not come up with or would not want to come up with if that wouldn't be the working title.
Mm.
And it's a valid reason to be doing it. But you cannot recreate the magic of the past just by throwing a song or an album title, on the table. I think that doesn't work like that. But I respect everything, because ultimately everybody's got to know on their own what they want to do and how they want to do it and how they want to achieve what they have in mind.
No, I definitely agree with that. It's one of those interesting things, I guess, and it's something that I've just sort of picked up along the way. Fans are sort of stuck on those certain sort of albums. Now, just sort of moving on from that, I did want to ask you about this fantastic lineup of guests on this album. I mean, people like Jeff Tate and Dee Snider and all that. Dee Snider in particular, I did want to ask you about. What was it like working with him?
Actually, it all happened on email.
All right.
Yeah. It was just my agent contacting his manager, and it's really funny. We're both going to headline Sweden Rock this year. So Twisted Sister and Avantasia. So different stages, I believe, or different days. But maybe I'm going to run into him and buy him some. I don't know, not beer, but green tea, something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to buy him.
Yeah, as a thanks for appearing on the album, I guess. So.
Yeah. It was what I really like about these performances, that it's so unexpected. I had the song "The Haunting" written, and it was really in need of a theatric performance, and I was trying to find a singer who could act more than sing, or sing as much as act, and like a vocal actor, like a theatric Broadway singer or whatever. And I was going through my record collection, thought, who could that be? Who could be that bogeyman, that eerie bogeyman, a little bit like the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, that children's movie from the, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
60s, I think. And I was really, all of a sudden it popped up in my head, and I thought, Dee Snider's got to be the one. And I contacted him, and he loved the song. He said, it's a killer track, I want to do it. So that was the whole story. Sometimes things can be that easy. I also tried to get Meatloaf for a different track, but
all right.
But yeah, I wanted to have Meatloaf for Mystery of Blood Red Rose, the first single, opening track of the album. It was written with Meatloaf in the back of my mind, and at a certain point it really looked as if I would get Meatloaf to do it, but his management had different plans, and so it didn't happen, never materialized. So bummer, but I had the song, and I wanted to put it on the album anyway, so I thought I'm going to sing it myself and try to be the best Meatloaf impersonator I can be.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, and obviously Jeff Tate and the other people from bands like Scorpions and the Nightwish and all that. It's a huge lineup on there, and also I did also want to ask you as well. I saw on your Facebook page about a video shoot that you had just recently done. Now, you didn't actually elaborate on which song it was for. Can you say anything about that at this moment? Or?
Oh, yeah. It was a video for Mystery of Blood Red Rose. We shot a video. We also shot excerpts for a song called Draconian Love. But the main video was shot for Mystery of Blood Red Rose, and I have no clue what it's going to be like. I thought the setting was amazing. The pictures we got were amazing. It was in a castle and in a mausoleum. Is that the right pronunciation? Mausoleum?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a European Egypt, European pyramid.
Something like that, yeah.
Just like a huge, like a grave for very, very rich people. And that was that we were shooting there, and that was just a giant setting. It was a real huge video set. I don't know if the story is not maybe a bit cheesy, but then we're playing epic rock and epic metal, so it's supposed to be cheesy in a way. So yeah, it was great. It was freezing cold. It was around 0.
Oh wow! Was it in Germany or where was this?
Yeah, it was in Germany.
Okay, yeah.
In the north of Germany, and it was not north really, in the middle of Germany, I would say, near Hanover. And it was freezing cold, and the heating system, it didn't have a heating system, that mausoleum, and it was around 0, and we stood there for 16, 17 hours, actors and the band, and it was great. But I mean, I hope the result is going to be good. But I hate shooting videos. It's just so, it's just such a fake. You're being there and trying to look as good as possible and moving your mouth to a song. So, you get a feeling what it's like to be a pop artist. To be a pop artist on stage. Try to look good and move your mouth to playback.
Yeah. Well, is that your idea then, to be doing videos, or is that someone else, like the record company or something? Or?
Well, you have to do videos actually, because it's like, this album in Germany is being not only released by Nuclear Blast, but it's a joint venture with a TV publishing company who are doing mainstream TV primetime advertisements, and they need video footage.
Wow,
so it's a TV company, that makes sense. But they always want videos. But I really hate shooting videos. It's like a root canal. It's like going to the dentist. For me, it's really, I hate it. You're standing there looking ridiculously silly, moving your mouth, having people run around you, putting makeup onto your face all the time to keep the damage as little as possible. and doing those kinds of things, and you're standing there. That's why with that guy we didn't do a proper video for the last album. We had like an animated video, because that way we could avoid standing in front of the camera looking silly.
Yeah. Oh, well, I suppose, videos don't really, they're not as impactful as they used to be back in the 80s or whatever, but I guess they're still sort of, they can be useful as some kind of promotional tool or something. So, and also, you're getting past all the boring parts and filming and all that, but I guess at the end of the day, you're doing it for the outcome, the final product, and I guess you must be pretty happy with the videos,
Of course, it's like a business card, and if you take a look, on YouTube, some of the videos we've done have like millions of views, and that's something that should not be underestimated. So plus, I say, we have that TV campaign, which a lot of people will see. I mean, millions, and therefore you need high quality footage. So it's part of the business. It's nothing that I really care about, and nothing that a lot of people say. Oh, he likes doing photo sessions and video shooting so much, because a lot of people think I'm very vain.
Right, okay.
Well, I am a little bit, but I don't like doing that kind of stuff. If you would ask me, like, what would you prefer to spend your evening with? Playing PlayStation, FIFA football, or shooting a video, I wouldn't have to think about it. So I hate shooting videos.
Yeah. Now, just before we wrap this up, what are your plans for touring as far as 2016 is concerned? And will there be a chance of you guys coming down to Australia at all?
I don't think we're going to come to Australia. I want to say this right away. I had hope, but the thing is, we're a traveling party of 25 people. If you would go to Australia with 25 people, crew and band, and all those vocalists, Michael Kiske, Johan Lander, Ronnie Atkins, Ollie Hartman, Amanda Somerville, you name it. You would at least have to play. If you go to Australia, this would be a trip that you could not combine with anything else. Well, of course, going to Tasmania, but but nothing that would make sense. So it's not on the way to anywhere, and nothing is on the way to Australia except for maybe Tokyo, which is only a 10-hour flight away. So only in quotation marks.
Yeah.
So you would have to draw like 4,000 people to make this worthwhile, I would estimate.
So it's very expensive in other words then.
Yeah. I would not, I don't need to make money from it. I would do it. I would even invest money. But going there, playing 1,200 people, which is maybe realistic, maybe 1,500, and having all those upfront expenses for that one show, it would really burn a lot of money. And I'm not talking a few $1,000s. I'm talking a lot of money. And that's simply, if there is a promoter who says, I want to have Avantasia here, we're gonna guarantee we're gonna have 2,500, 3,000 people, and we're gonna make it happen somehow. We have sponsors and whatever. I would come in no time. I don't need to make money there. It's not that I'm greedy. It's just that I am afraid to lose big money, and we're not Kiss. They can go wherever they want and play an arena. I think Avantasia in Germany we can do arenas, but I'm not very confident we could do that in Australia. Maybe it would be possible, but who takes the risk?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair enough, and completely it's an honest answer. And I think a lot of bands will probably just say the same thing. If they can't see the justification in doing it, it's fair enough. And I think that's something that a lot of fans probably don't understand, because they'd love to see a lot of bands come down to Australia, but it's just not viably possible sometimes, which is unfortunate, I guess.
With that guy, we made it happen. We lost money every time we came to Australia, and we will probably do this again, and we will lose money again. It's just because it's great to be in Australia, and that's not kissing ass. It's just like, it is great. It is something special. It's not a place that you go to me, it's very similar to, let's say, England or even Germany. It's very, the mentality is just a little more relaxed, I would say, because you're so far away from everywhere. You're just doing your own thing, not giving a shit about everything else, which I don't want to say is a bad thing. I mean that as a compliment.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a very relaxed atmosphere, and I love Melbourne. I don't love most of the animals that you have, except from the cute ones.
Neither do I, actually.
Well, some of the furry ones with 4 legs at most. I like them. But you have a lot of animals that don't have legs at all or more than 4 legs, and I don't like those so much. Especially when they bite you and your fingers fall off.
Yeah.
Or if they just grab your leg if you're in the water. If they just take your leg just for an appetizer. I don't like that. But I really loved Australia every time. I've been there 3 times, and I've always loved it. And I can promise that I will be back, but it will most likely be with that guy and not with Avantasia. Because with that guy, we're just a traveling party of 10 people. With 10 people, the money you lose, you can kind of reduce the money you lose. If you come with 25 people, and 24 of them are actually on your payroll, no matter what happens, how many people will show up for the show. it's not only 25 airfares, it's also 24 people on your payroll.
Yeah.
That can end in a real disaster, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and sorry to take too much time, but I guess we can just talk all day about, everything, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and so thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll see you with Edguy, at least in Australia sometime, so.
I really hope so, and I'm very optimistic that this is going to happen.